Bowman live on YouTube. As always, I bring you information that is relative, pertinent, and important at the same time. With the Democratic National Convention in full swing, there are a lot of other news stories that are taking place around the world, and most people are not paying attention to them, but I am. I'm constantly reading, writing, researching, and bringing them to the forefront. Trump is still running around the country whining and crying about how the election was rigged, how they stole the election from him, how massive voter fraud on the part of black people caused him to lose the election. This seems to be the thesis and consensus every time Trump takes the stage on his so-called campaign events. And what's sad and pathetic about it is they have no issues. They're not really talking about anything that's important, simply spreading the message of bigotry, racism, hatred, and divisiveness. Well, I found an article today written in azcentral.com. The article entitled Supreme Court Limits AZ Voters' Ability or Arizona's voters' ability to register without providing proof of citizenship. First of all, who is registering without proper identification? Who are these people alluding to? Basically, they're talking about black people. So you all have to pay attention and you have to really read and understand, like former President Clinton and Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama were alluding to and talking about in their speeches. The battle is not over. The fight is just beginning. These people are going to try to do every dirty, disastrous thing under the sun in the attempt to steal the election from the Democrats. Talk about stop the steal. How about stop the fraud? They're committing massive fraud. Trump and his allies are thinking day and night how to steal this upcoming election. Whether you like it or not, it's the truth. They're constantly berating, insulting Kamala Harris, and she is more qualified than Trump will ever be. Like the lady said, she will put her record against his any day. It's pathetic and it's terrible. Just like tonight at the Democratic Convention, you can believe that Trump and his surrogates have planned something rotten and something dirty in an attempt to stop the Democratic nominee from taking center stage and accepting officially the nomination from her party. So this article says Supreme Court limits AZ voters' ability to register without providing proof of citizenship. Quote, the nation's highest court partially granted an emergency stay Thursday that limits Arizonians' ability to sign up to cast ballots without providing proof of citizenship. Well, that should go to white people too. Yeah, I said it. The only people that they are marginalizing is going to be black and brown people. So if they're going to issue this ruling, then it should apply to white people as well. Bring your birth certificate and you prove that you are a citizen of the United States of America as well. And if white people don't show their birth certificate, then black people should protest immediately and don't show theirs. Don't idly sit down, sit back, and roll over. And pretty soon I'm really going to make a lot of Trump Republicans mad because I'm going back into the archives and I'm going to bring the footage from the 50s and the 60s and show you what it was like when black people were treated like trash and garbage in this nation, when they sicked dogs on women and children, when they turned on the water hoses, when they deliberately and systematically used racism, Jim Crow, and bigotry from all fronts in an attempt to stop black people from voting. And listen up, my black brothers and sisters. You all sit back and talk about how you don't want to vote. You better understand that the right to vote came stained with blood for us as a people. Our people are the ones who are on the forefront. Our people are the ones who were spit on and battered and bruised and cursed at. Our people are the ones who had to demand the right to vote. While you all sit back and callously say, I'm not going to vote. Well, then you know what? Then you're just plain stupid. But I'm going to remind you of those dark days in the 50s and 60s and what Trump is trying to take America back to. Whether you like it or not, whether you want to hear it or not, the Republican Party is incensed with racism, incensed with bigotry, incensed with the Nazism that has been their platform, and what they had was nothing more than a Klan convention. So let's get to this article. The news, listen, the pivotal decision could have major ramifications for the presidential race and voter registration laws in other states. The news comes after state and national Republicans sought to enforce provisions of a recent state law tightening voter requirements. The case went to the U.S. Supreme Court for consideration after a federal judge blocked certain provisions of the law last year, sparking a series of appeals that so far have been unsuccessful. It is part of a larger legal battle raging in Arizona over voter registration laws during a key period before the November election. Who wrote the tough voter registration laws? Republicans. For what? In the attempt to stop black people from voting. Because we sure enough ain't voting for y'all. Supreme Court Justice Elena Kagan, who oversees applications to the court from Arizona and other states with the Ninth Circuit, referred the application to the full court. It was ultimately divided on the issue. The order notes that Justice Clarence Thomas, that's no brainer there. We already know he ain't voting for nothing for black folk. Anything that comes against black people, Thomas will vote against it. Justice Samuel Alito and Neil Gorsuch, some of the court's most conservative members, racist, would have granted the application in full. Kagan, alongside Justices Sonia Sotomayor, Amy Coney Barrett, and Ketanji Brown Jackson would have denied it in full. Thank God for those three. The decision means voters who attempt to register without proof of citizenship using Arizona's voter registration form will be rejected going forward, pending appeals in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit and any petitions for review. Voters who attempt to sign up to cast ballots using the federal form without providing proof of citizenship will still be registered. Previously, such voters could use both documents. It should apply to white people too. And I'm going to put it just like that, and I'm not going to back down. White people got to prove that they are citizens of this country as well. But the ruling rejected other aspects of the GOP application, including, listen to this garbage, requests to block so-called, quote, federal only, close quote, voters from casting ballots in the presidential election, and to block those voters from casting ballots by mail. Because they are the ones who want to have the right to vote by mail and nobody else. These voters will continue to cast ballots for presidential and congressional contests, but not state and local ones. Several other cases regarding voter registration laws remain active in lower courts in Arizona. Nationwide registration forms generally require voters to attest that they are American citizens. Voters do so under the penalty of perjury, meaning they could be held criminal liable if they are found to have provided false information. Arizona is the only state in the country that also requires voters to provide a birth certificate, a passport, or one of a handful of other documents proving their citizenship. That ain't nothing but outright racism and bigotry. That's all it is. Outright racism and bigotry. Because you can believe this will not apply to white people. It's just to black and brown people only. That's it. And for you Trump Republicans, I don't give a damn if you vote for Trump. Doesn't matter with me. I graciously allow your comments to come on this page, but you keep it up and I will turn the comments off and you won't be able to comment at all. Now you keep messing with Bowman and Bowman ain't gonna take your crap. Know that straight up. You got the right one. About 42,000 Arizonians haven't provided that proof, creating a unique two-track system. Federal courts have repeatedly ruled that state lawmakers can block voters who have not shown citizenship documents from participating in state and local races, but must allow federal only voters to cast ballots in federal courts, including the upcoming presidential race, U.S. Senate contest, and congressional matchups. Studies have repeatedly shown that voter fraud is rare. Non-citizens who attempt to vote risk fines, prison time, deportation, and impeding their naturalization process. A recent Vote Beat analysis found federal-only voters are disproportionately young people on college campuses who are without access to their citizenship documents. These voters only represent about 1% of the state's total registration voters. Still, every vote could be key to the outcome of the high-stakes presidential election in 2020. The contest was decided by under 11,000 votes. Listen up, my black brothers and sisters. I'm finished reading that garbage of an article. Listen up. Don't be intimidated. Don't let Trump and the racist, bigoted Republicans intimidate you from voting. Don't allow the racist, bigoted governors to try to intimidate you from voting. You have the right to vote for Kamala Harris and the Democratic ticket. Make it your business to vote. If you don't want to vote for you, vote for your ancestors who were shot and killed. Vote for your ancestors who had water hoses turned on them. Vote for your ancestors who had dogs thrown on them. Vote for the 4 black women down in Birmingham, Alabama, who were bombed to death by a racist KKK leader. Vote for those who stood and fought for you to have the right to vote. Don't let anybody limit you from voting. And if you bring your citizenship, demand that the white people prove that they are citizens of this country as well. We're not going back whether you racist Republicans like it or not. And this election right here, black people are going to turn out in unprecedented millions upon millions upon millions of us. We're going to put this woman in the White House, whether you like it or not. Never surrender. Never quit.